includes tokenizing and pre-processing. He is awarded with Accenture Stellar Rising Star Award for his consistent performance. I welcome you, Tanuvir, on this occasion.
Thank you.
Now without further ado, we will turn the time over to our distinguished speaker, engineer Tanuvir Singh from Amazon Technologies USA. Over to you, Tanuvir.
Hi everyone. My name is Tanuvi. Let me turn on my video. It's about 10:54 here right now, so I might not have the best of the lighting right now. So bear with me for that. Are you guys able to hear me?
Yeah, Tanuvir, we can hear you.
Okay. So again, as ma'am just told you about my journey, I was actually just talking to a friend like a couple of weeks ago, and we were just discussing how we've gone through colleges in India and stuff. And when he told me that their alumni had a really good network, and they were told well in advance while during their college, what they should be doing and they shouldn't be doing, it just hit me. I had Professor K.S. Teens on my LinkedIn profile, so I pinged him that I wanted to do an alumni talk. uh, Let me just share the screen. I was going to give me my introduction, but ma'am has already given the introduction, so giving it twice would not make any sense. Uh, can you guys see this screen with a Google Doc open?
Yes, Tanuvir, it is visible.
Yeah. So it's empty for a reason. I didn't really prepare anything to talk about, not give a presentation or anything. I just wanted to keep it as an open session where, probably make it as an AMA, which is ask me anything. If you have any questions regarding, I've had a very diverse career, to say, worked for like five Fortune 500 companies till now. I think four are there on my LinkedIn. The fifth one is not there. That's going to be a question that I'm going to ask the students. Anyways, so I see there are 53 people already. If you guys can just, type in your semester in the chat, just to tell me, from which semester you guys are mostly. Also, I don't know if you guys are on mute or anything, but if anybody wants to speak, I would actually want this to be an interaction more than a presentation. So, okay, fourth, second. If anybody wants to speak, feel free to, unmute yourself, and if you can turn on your video, that'll be great. But otherwise as well, you can just unmute yourself and speak. Okay, so I see most of the people are from fourth, second, and some are from sixth semester. Okay, so let's start off. Firstly, again, so I started off my career in 2009. It was the time of, let me just start this, I think, stuff here, right? Okay. It's bad, right? I don't even remember the spelling of recession. Anyways, so 2009 was the year of recession, if you guys remember. Probably it's like 10 years ago. So you guys must have been in your, third, fourth standard and stuff. So again, to start off, I think when we started in college, mostly we were told that, if you could get into companies like CTS, TCS, Cognizant, that would be really great for your career. And that's the only kind of guidance we got from anyone around us, be it teachers or be it students, our seniors, alumni, and everyone involved. So yeah, during the college, I remember it was sixth semester, just before our industrial training, that I got placed in Accenture. Right about that time, colleges used to have this policy. You could only, if you got placed in a company, you couldn't really, sit for any more companies as to give interviews and stuff. So that was it. In sixth semester, I knew that I'd cleared the rounds for Accenture. It was a big drive in Chitkara. I remember there were like 8,000 students that turned up to give the written test, which was followed by uh, there was a GD, a group discussion, and then a written interview and a behavioral interview. And I think in the end, they took like 60 people out of those people who started. So, yeah, so I knew that I was going to go join Accenture when I graduated. But thanks to recession, Accenture kept on pushing the joining back. So I was free from August. And yeah, Accenture just told us that, we'll let you know when we let you know. So recession hit, and I was just looking for a job. I didn't want to sit at home, so I joined something nearby, which was still a Fortune 500 company. Any guesses where I joined? No guesses. There's only so many Fortune 500 companies nearby. By the way, I'm from Sarhind, so my house was like 4 minutes from the college. Just checking if the chat is working. So I'm not gonna proceed unless someone guesses. Anybody? Hello. Gurkamal Kaur raised a hand. You want to speak something? Anyways, so yeah, that was the time of recession. Nobody was hiring a software engineer, so I joined Dell as a call center agent. I was there for about 3 months, and within 3 months, I knew this was not something I wanted to do. So one fine day, I turned up, resigned, and I was thinking that I'll start, kind of a startup of my own, simple startup doing some web development from home as a freelancer and stuff. I just bought some domains, started learning .NET. .NET was in those days, and my joining came for Accenture. So that was that. So I went there, worked for about 3 years. That's when I realized that the real face of the IT industry in India. Although Accenture was one of the biggest companies that were hiring software engineers at the time, what they would do is once you were there, they would train you in whatever technologies that they needed people in, and then you would just do the work they would ask you to. So I was trained in a technology called Siebel, which was a customer relationship management tool at that time. It was a hot skill. I worked there for about 3 years, but right about the 2 year mark, everything was starting to get boring. Uh, there was only so much you could do in Siebel, and I felt like this is not where I wanted my career to go. And then I had to take a decision because at that time I had an opportunity to go on site to Canada. Our client was Bell Canada, which is a telecommunication giant in Canada. So I was supposed to go to Canada in late September. My passport had been stamped, the tickets were booked, and everything was done. And at that time, I decided that this is not something I want to do for the rest of my life. So I wanted to do masters, and then I decided to go ahead, start preparations and go ahead and just give GRE. I took like a month and a half to give my GREs. It worked out. I got like 6 7 admits, and then I came here in 2013. From there on, it has been some journey. I started working with IBM right out of college. Before that, even when I was in college, I got an internship at Symantec, the company that makes Norton antivirus. So I was working in one of the disk encryption teams there for an year as an intern, which eventually paid off for my college. And then I worked for IBM a year, moved on to eBay. eBay was a wonderful journey. In 5 years, I got like three promotions, learned a lot of stuff, built a lot of stuff. And then for the past year or so, there were kind of layoffs happening in eBay. So I thought it was the time to move. And then I just started preparations for cracking these companies. That's when it hit me. So recently I've given interviews for all the big companies you can think of. Uh, Gotten offers from seven of them, and then I chose the biggest and the brightest offer I had, which was Amazon. So I joined Amazon like a month back, and so that's pretty much my journey. So I've worked in India for two companies in two different roles, starting from a call center rep to a software engineer in Accenture. Did my master's in United States, and then obviously I've been working here for about 6 years now as a software engineer. So there's quite a varied experience I have, and if you guys have any questions related to finding companies to work for India, how to crack companies, if you guys have any aspirations of doing your masters, I could answer those questions in quite detail because I've helped a lot of other friends as well preparing for their masters. And then obviously in the current market, even in India, if you see there's so many product companies coming up. The scene was very different in 2009. In 2009, I think the only big companies that have offices in India that were really product companies were like Google, Microsoft, maybe Yahoo. And then the only people that were really hiring, people from tier two colleges in India were companies like Samsung and Bosch. And it was really, really hard to crack their interviews at the time. But right now, the tech scene in India is really booming. Every big company you can think of, eBay, PayPal, Amazon, of course, uh, Intuit. Everyone has offices in India, primarily in Hyderabad and Bangalore, but they have there. So the stage is wide open. The interviews are like very standard. You could literally prepare for them for like 6 months if you're seriously, looking for a good job out of college. You're looking, to make 10 lakh plus right out of college in a good city, doing good work. It's only going to take you like 6 months, 6 months of preparations apart from college. And I mean, I assume that most of you would know about the scene by now and, know about all the resources there are. But still, I'm here if you have any questions regarding any of these.
So, how do we know what skill we should specialize in? How to
Which
choose
semester are
between
you
all
in?
the specialties? So, second,
When you talk about specialities, are you talking about the
for
engineering
example, sir,
options?
we have so many different areas to go in software development, like web designing, app development, and sir, all other stuff. How do we decide between all of them?
Okay. So it's right now, it's like very simple. So if you, again, so right now, so there's two parts to this story, right? So I'll just divide it into two parts. The first is resume, the second is everything else. So the resume is something that will get you into the door. So basically, when you apply for a job anywhere, uh, the only reason someone will call you back or give you an interview is based on your resume, right? So everything you want to do is to build up resume. And then the sad part of the story is if you're really looking for big companies to crack, then that resume will only take you as far as that point. So after that, the interviews are going to be completely different. Even if you've mastered Java, you've mastered web development, you've mastered Python or anything you have done, it's only going to get you that interview call. After that interview call, the interview is gonna be like very generic interviews. Almost all the companies I've interviewed in the past 6 months or so, every single interview was literally the same. So on that point, if you want, you can go to my LinkedIn. See if I have something there. Probably don't have logged in anyways. So if you guys, I don't know if Sandeep ma'am shared you with my resume or nothing. If you can look there, that's a good point to start. So when I did my master's, I literally tailored my resume to what was in at that time, which was data science, machine learning, security, and those related stuff. These days, things have changed. Everything is on cloud. So people are looking for buzzwords like, have you used Docker? Have you used Kubernetes? Uh, and you just need to be proficient in one single language. It could be C, C++, Java, Python, .NET, whatever you like. Just know ins and outs of one language. Um, Nothing too fancy. Just you could read stuff from in system.in, write to system.out. Know how if else works, switch works, for loop, while loop, if else. That's it. That's all you need to know basically to crack the interviews. So projects are more important than how which technologies you use. So let me see if there is something here. So coming back to that question, right? So the first part to build your technologies is learn a language, be it Java, Python, anything, and then have good projects on your resume, like building a search engine using, it could be done using C++ or Java. You could do it on a smaller data set, like you could just download all of Wikipedia and try to build your own search engine, which is a CLI engine where you just type in a search, it does processing in the background and returns some results. As simple as that, right? So projects are more important, and the more the projects involved, like you could take projects like bitly clone. So you must have seen this website which is used to shorten URLs. So if you take that kind of a project, right, if you build it yourself, so you'll build a UI. To build a UI, you don't really need to know much, right? HTML, JavaScript, you could learn like in 2 hours. You could learn those technologies, just as you can just create a web UI, put a search box in, put a button, and those sort of stuff, right? And then you need to know how to host that. So you could use cloud like AWS, GCP. There's so much documentation there. If you want to, there will be there's so much documentation that you can do whatever you want. And then you'll have to design the back end, write a web service in Java using concepts like REST. I know how many of you are basically aware about all these concepts. If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, or if you want to ask a question, you can. And the second part, which is everything else, I will come to that. That's primarily the cause of this webinar, is because I wanted to discuss what to prepare, how to prepare. But the first part is gonna be resume. Let me see if I have my resume. Do you guys see this resume on the screen I just shared?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is a sample resume, right? This is for Jaspreet Singh. He's currently graduating from San Jose State. So this is a resume of someone who is like an year into his master's, and this is how his resume looks, right? You can clearly see, he has some programming languages here, some web technologies. Um, you basically need to know a couple of data stores, databases like NoSQL, SQL, whatever. DevOps is important these days because people need to know that you can deploy code. uh, Tools and frameworks isn't that important, but you probably need to know Git, Windows and Linux for sure. And then this, so this is pretty much something that will get you in the door, right? This is just going to get you the interview. So all of this resume here is just going to get you the interview, and then you have to, basically prepare to clear the interview in a very different manner. So if you can see, there are some examples of projects here, right? Let's discuss. Oh, this is probably an old resume of his. Let me see if I have a new one. Anyways. So yeah, so if you see here, right, lyrics analyzer, what they did, right, they used like multiple technologies to build this project. So Python, Node.js, React.js, AWS, and then Docker to deploy it, and then MongoDB as the backend. And if you go through the lines, you can see that they use machine learning models, blah, 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 developed a web app. So basically, it's a mixture of everything. So uh, I would I would say that what I am going to talk about is being a software engineer, which is a very generic term. Uh, and what the question was regarding a software developer, right? There are two different things. So if you want to be a software engineer, you basically need to have an idea of everything, how basically everything works in a very high level. So you don't really need to know, you don't really need to know Python in and out. Even an hour you spend learning Python should be enough to do this project. Similarly for Node.js, React, and everything else. So this project should not take you, more than 10 hours or 15 hours. So if you do it, on and off an hour a day, that should take you a month to do it. So these are the kinds of resumes that are going to get you calls in all the big companies. Again, I'm not talking about Cognizant, Accenture, TCS, Infosys, because there it's not really a software engineer role. It's mostly a software developer role. So they're probably going to just take your aptitude tests. I don't know how it works right now, but back in 2010, it just used to be aptitude tests. So you'll have like 60 questions on a piece of paper. If you clear that, you move on to another round where you write some code to simple problems, right? Like reversing a string and stuff. And then they'll take a behavior round for like 30 minutes and offer you the job. So this talk is not gonna be about services companies. I'm gonna primarily target on, if someone is looking to target big product-based companies like Facebook, Google, Amazon, Microsoft. This is what the talk is gonna be about, basically. Any other questions?
Dear students, if you have any question during the presentation, please type them in the chat box. So I'll be bringing them up during the presentation, and we can have time for questions at the end. So please type your questions in the chat box. Thank you very much.
Okay, so nobody has any questions. So let me ask a question, right? Uh, so again, this is purely my opinion, but what do you guys think is the most important semester in your degree? Just the number. I'm assuming everyone is from CSC here.
Yes, Tanvir, all are from CSE background.
So Hemant says fifth semester. Why do you think so, Hemant? Sandeep says second. Okay, let me put it this way. Uh, I don't know if the curriculum has changed, but from what I remember, the two subjects we had data structures and algorithms were in semester 3, right? Is it still in semester 3, data structures and algorithms? Yeah. So the third semester is probably the most important semester in your degree. So if you are still in your first or second, or you're in your third, please, 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 please use it wisely. That's the only semester that really matters. Again, it's all my opinion. Don't go by my opinion. So data structures and algorithms are the only two semester basically courses that really, really matter if you want to land a big job. Again, apart from this, you need to know a programming language. But I'll keep it separate because that's a basic, right? If you're going to be a computer software engineer, you need to know a programming language. But these two are the most important things you need to know if you want to land a big job. So your third semester is probably the biggest semester in the degree. And if it has gone, uh, I know that I did my bachelor's from PTU in BBSBEC, and I know how the workloads were. I would highly advise you, if you are in fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh semesters, go back, do these two courses again. Take the book, try to solve all the problems there are. I don't know, maybe what was the book, Schwab or something for data structures. And then for algorithms, I don't know if this is what you guys used to study, but Corman et al. Is the book for algorithms. Let me get that one. Yeah. Yeah, Thomas Corman. Yeah. So this is the alma mater of software engineering, computer science, whatever you call it. If you if you can solve each and every problem in this book, you'll probably crack one of the big FANG companies, be it Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, Microsoft, whatever. So if you can solve every problem in this book, you're good. You're good for your life. You don't really need to push for any other thing. Everything else is gonna build you up for, intellectually. So if you look, so operating systems is an important subject. Computer networks is very important to understand how data flows on the network, right? Same for operating system, how commands run. But these two subjects, I don't remember the book for data structures, but basically what you need to know is how strings work in any language, how arrays work, how linked lists work, how stacks work, queues, uh, going on to heap, hash map, tree, try. I mean, probably some of them are advanced concepts, but this is all the data structures I can think of that you would need. Queue. What else? Any other data structures you guys can think of? Have I missed any? What are these? Nucleus, queue. Does anyone here know what a hash map is? Would you please come on the mic and explain what it is? Karamveer? Okay, it's fine. Anybody else? Anybody else knows what a hash map is?
Hi, sir. Am I
Hi.
audible?
Yes, you are.
Sorry, sir. Sorry for the delay. So basically, you can say that hash map is a data structure where the access time is O of 1 because you store keys and then along with the key, you store the value. So whenever you have to look for a value, you use the key which is generated with the help of the hash function and you use the hash function to store the value also as well as to access the value.
Okay. Karam, which semester are you in?
Sir, I am in sixth.
Sixth semester. Do you know how a hash map works internally?
Not very much in detail, but what I know is that like there's a hash function, and for the hash function, we like whenever we want to store the value, there may be different hash functions. The most commonly used may be n mod 10 or n mod any value. So once we need to store that value, we pass in the value, the key is generated, and at that key, where like that key is linked to a location in the memory, and in that location the value is stored.
So when you say key is stored in a location in the memory, do you know which data structure backs a hash map? Which data structure actually stores that key?
Is it the array?
Yeah, it's an array. So basically, you just map your keys to a space. The space could be anything. So your hash function has to really, hash your key to the space. So you had to design your hash function. Let's say if your array is of size 10,000, you have to design it in such a way that it always generates the hash between 0 and 10,000. And then you go to that location, put that item there, and whenever you're looking, let's say you store Karam and his roll number there, right? So if someone wants to look for Karam, they just search with Karam, it hashes it again to, let's say, 2725, and there is where his roll number is stored, right? So it's again backed by a data structure, which is array, which is again the most primary data structure which is used everywhere. So similarly, there's probably, I think I have covered most of them, maybe 80 to 90% of them. So these are the data structures that you need to know in and out, right? So you need to know how to process them, how to look through them, what are their time and space complexities, the average case, the worst case for search, for insertion, for deletion. Uh, One second. Let's move this way. So this is your building block. So once you know all your data structures in and out, you can, create a queue using a linked list. You can create a stack using a linked list or using an array. Both of those would work. And, you can create a tree, a trie, a priority queue. That's when you move on to the algorithms. And this book is a very big book. So this will take you a long, long time to master. Uh, I think it took me like more than a year just to go through this book. But then I was in school. No, I was working, and I would only have half an hour to study every day in the evenings. So right now, you guys have a lot of time. Even if you are in your fifth or sixth semester, you've got a year to go. Start soon. Start learning these data structures. Once you have mastered them, try to do exercises on them, and then start with this book, right? So this book has a lot of good stuff, right? It starts from the basics, right? Talking about all the sorting algorithms from insertion sort, selection sort, quick sort, merge sort, and then it goes on to advanced algorithms, right? Has anyone here heard about any string searching algorithms? They are mostly called needle in a haystack problems when you are probably searching on Google or any search engine. They have to go through a lot of text to find some data. And string searching is one of the hardest problems in computer science. Anybody? Uh, is my screen not shared? Jugraj is, I'm assuming my screen is shared, right? The name of the book is right here. Oh, are you asking for data structures?
Yes, sir.
I literally don't remember the one. Let me see. Uh, what primarily language do you use? I'll just go Java because that's what I use. Let's see which one I used to use. There's one good book. This is written by an IIT professor, Narasimha Karumanchi, Data Structures and Algorithms Made Easy in Java. So this book you can definitely use for learning data structures. This book kind of has hard problems. So if you can't really solve them by yourself and you need to, ask for help or look online, don't just, think that it's too hard. So this book is a good book. What's the other one? Let me write it down here. I remember this book. Someone told me when I was in college about 2013-14 is when I heard about this book first. And this book will be available in paperback in India very easily. It's quite a famous book in IITs and those kind of colleges. Any other questions? Okay, so anybody here from 7th, 6th, 7th, 8th semesters? Are you guys already preparing for interviews? Karam has a good question. So shall we refer to online courses and skip reading a book? I mean, again, it's your choice, right? I'm an old school guy. Primarily for Cormen, I would say go with it. With data structures, you can learn it online. Doesn't really matter because the content is pretty small. So there's only so many ways you can write a set, create an array and go through an array and queue and those sort of stuff, right? But for algorithms, I would say go through Cormen. There's a couple of chapters, if I remember, on how we calculate space-time complexity, right? Those chapters are really well explained in the book. And it is a hard book to learn. It's not an easy book, but it will cover everything and it will cover it in, I would say, in a sequence that you want to learn it in. If you go online, you probably would have to, you are on your own. You don't know where to start, where to end. But this book gradually builds your uh, vocabulary to say in computer science, right? It will start from simple stuff, teaching you how to calculate space-time complexity, talk about some math, and then move on to, start from strings, arrays, and those sort of things. So I would say do go through Cormen. If you don't want to buy it, you can just find an PDF online and follow it. But definitely follow the path it takes of teaching gradually. I wish someone told me when I was in college to get that book and use it. I remember when I did data structure and algorithms, doing assignments was just, getting it done. most of the time, if you had time, you'll do it. If you didn't have time, uh, you'll just copy it from someone else. And that someone else would have probably copied it from someone else. There'll probably be like two, three people who actually did those assignments. And the biggest problem with the assignments that we did was most of them were, to be submitted in pen and paper, which was probably not the right way to go. It would have been better if we had to submit codes. Uh, Even during labs, the kind of codes we wrote like were very primal. I don't know what you guys are doing in your labs, but yeah, that's why I said data structure algorithm. If you still gotta go and take that course, just take it as your life, right? That these two courses way more than the remaining 48 plus courses that you're gonna do. Just remember that. That's good. That's good that you have to submit codes. But I would say that specifically for these two subjects, write your codes yourself. Don't take anyone's help. Don't take help from the internet or anywhere. If it takes you time, put in the time. Try to learn at least these two subjects. So anyone here preparing for interviews already? Anyone here who has their own GitHub set up with projects and probably problem solving? So how many of you are aware of lead code? Anyone? Anyone used it? Only Karam is replying. Anyone else? So this is a very important tool these days. This website called LeetCode has a section where you can go and solve problems. They also have uh, contests going on weekly. And you should, if you've not started yet, I would say start, because I remember the first time I heard about this website was probably 2017-18 when I was working in eBay. At that time, a couple of my friends told me that they saw this website in 2014. At that time, it used to have like 150 to 200 problems. They solved all of them, and then they gave interviews for Google, Facebook, Amazon, and every company. And all the questions that were asked in those interviews were all from these problems. Uh, we are not so lucky now. When I started my preparations, there was like 1,200 problems here. But right now there are about 1,100. Okay, so 1627 problems on the site. You probably don't need to do all of them, but the more you do, the better your mind will start working on solving these problems, and the better you will be at interviews. So if you can see, I've done a lot of them over the years. I've been doing this for like 2 3 years. uh, Even though I've been working in the industry for 10 years. uh, if you have to change a job, all the interviews I gave, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, Amazon, everywhere, not a single person asked me about what I do at work. I mean, they would ask for the first 5 minutes, what I do, what technologies I use, and those sort of stuff. But after those 5 minutes, they would come up with one of these problems. obviously hidden and obscure so that you cannot make out that it's the exact same problem. And then they would ask you to write code. Uh, so you can see that I've been doing it on and off for like 2, 3 years now. So I'm at about 657 problems. So I would say I've probably covered all types of different problems. I still struggle at most of the hard problems, but you need to be at a point where you can, solve each and every easy problem you see within 10, 15 minutes, and then probably solve about 50 to 60, no, 60 to 80% of the medium problems in about 30 minutes. Even if you cannot solve a medium problem, don't be disheartened. Just keep doing it. Uh, this is gonna build up your stamina to crack the big interviews. So if you really want to, be a software engineer and work for a big company, this is something you'll have to do because that's the way interviews work. And there's no other way to interview people, basically. Uh, any questions? Anybody thinking about doing masters after you graduate from US, from Canada, from anywhere? Come on, guys. This is your time to ask questions. I wish someone would have done this when I was in college. I would ask so many questions they wouldn't have even had time to answer them. So what's your priority now? So right now, the job scene in India is like really, really cool. There have been times where I've thought I should move back to India because it's so tough with the visa and the green card situation over here. But right now, the job scene in India is really, really cool. I mean, I could probably just take an internal transfer to Amazon Bangalore and make a really, really, really good number. So if you are seriously interested in doing a job on the software engineer side, you want to keep continue on the computer science format, I would highly suggest you guys to start with data structure algorithms. And once you are done there, start doing problems on lead code. So Karam is the only one talking here. Anybody else has a voice? You can feel free to, if you feel shy in typing, you can just unmute yourself and start talking, right? Nobody's gonna go and see who's speaking. Anybody else? Okay, let's move on. The second thing. The other thing you really need for interviewing is to have a solid system design. Although people usually don't ask this in detail from new grads coming out of college, but there will be some kind of a design question in your interviews. Just could be as plain as, how would you design a chess game, or how would you design a tic-tac-toe game? So basically, you would have to, come up with classes for that game, uh, write code basically, and then they would cross question you on that. So system design slash object oriented design based on the company is something that you guys would have to prepare for. Let me just add a resource. When I was doing preparations, I have a GitHub repo. So I created this repo a while back when I was starting preparations. Uh, this is not my work. I don't take credit for this work. There's been so many people online have gathered this information. I've just forked some repos, tried to, collect some stuff that is really, really important for interviews. So the first one, which is LC on the screen right now, is basically all the concepts there are for, interview questions. So you could only get so many questions on arrays. These probably are some advanced concepts like backtracking. I don't know if any of you guys, you should. I mean, it was part of algorithms, backtracking and dynamic programming. How many of you guys know backtracking and dynamic programming? Anybody heard about them? Anybody? Okay, I will move on. So yeah, so these are all the concepts that you would need for your interviews, basically. And then there are a collection of problems. Obviously, you cannot do 1600 problems on lead code. So there are about, 10, 15 problems on each of these topics. You don't need to do all of them. Open up arrays, try to solve 5 or 6 of these problems, move on to the next concept, whichever you feel is easy for you. These are the only concepts that will be part of coding interviews. And then apart from this, I have some system design primers here. You could go through this. It talks in detail about all the systems. You'll probably refresh all of your computer science in this one web page. And this is like really, really, really useful. If you've never seen this, do go through this. It will clear a lot of concepts that you have. It also has this OCI model, I remember, from computer networks. So I'll add this to the webinar link.
Sorry to interrupt you, Tanuvir.
Yeah.
Dr. Manpreet Kaur, Head Research and Innovation Center and in charge BBSBEC Alumni, has joined the session. I request Dr. Manpreet Kaur, in charge BBSBEC Alumni, to give participants brief about the alumni cell activities.
Sure.
Over to you, ma'am.
Hello,
Yes, ma'am, audible.
I'm audible. Okay.
Yes, ma'am, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, it is an immense pleasure to deliver the vote of thanks to Tanuvir Singh. I would like to thank you, Tanuvir Singh, and very happy that you agreed to deliver the expert talk to our students. You donated your valuable time. You spoke about the subject queries. You dealt with the queries. And I hope the students will follow your advice and suggestions. So you have motivated and inspired our students. I hope they will get benefit from this. I thank you once again for sparing your valuable time and expertise to our students. So if any students in future also wants to take you as a mentor, I hope you will accept the request. So
Sure,
giving
I'll
back,
leave my personal
yes,
email
I hope giving back to your alma mater shows the sign of your gratitude and affinity towards the college. So as you know that our college has the strong alumni cell, and the cell has been putting all efforts to strengthen the bond between the alumni and the alma mater. So I'm very happy and delightful to tell you that our alumni willingly accept the invitations, and they deliver the expert lectures, they give the training programs, and also they further help in the internship and placements for our students. And we are also conducting the regular alumni meets. Due to this COVID-19, we were able to conduct in the last year, but we always try to connect with the alumni through this webinar series. So I'm very happy to listen you all. So in the end, I would like to thank Dr. Kamalveer Singh Dhinsa, Dr. Professor Sandeep Kaur ma'ams to organizing such a beautiful webinar. So I think these webinars, they help students a lot, and students can gain much. They can uh, ask their queries, they can solve their small problems, they can share their problems, and our alumni, they try their best to solve these problems. So I'm very happy, and once again I thank you, Tanvi, for sparing your time and guiding the right path toward current students. I wish you brighter and meaningful future. All the very best. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Now I request Tanuvir to please continue the talk. Thank you, Tanuvir. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I
Thank you.
just see that a lot of people are asking me for access. Let me open it up. So I've changed the access to anyone with the link, so you guys should be able to access it now. Can anyone confirm if they can open the Google Doc? Okay, so I've left my email right at the bottom. If you guys have any queries related to preparing for job interviews, like really seriously, uh, if you have any questions regarding to your masters uh, in USA in specifically or anywhere else, or any other career advices you need, feel free to drop me an email. I've left my email here. I'll try to respond to whatever emails I can. Uh, yeah. So I think that's all I wanted to cover. I would have liked if this was more like an AMA session than me just going through stuff which I had not prepared for. I literally was just, oh, my video is off. I was just literally thinking and just talking about it. Um, so I thought there'll be a lot more questions than there were, and I would be able to, answer them. But anyways, so I think that's all I had in my mind to cover. If you guys have any
Excuse me,
questions,
sir.
go ahead. Yeah.
I'm sorry, sir. Actually, I got disconnected. You were asking about the masters in foreign university, right? So I would
Yeah.
like to ask about the criteria, how to do the selection, and what are the best universities to pursue the masters in both Canada and America.
So again, I did not prepare for Canada, so probably what I know from some of my friends that went there was they had to take IELTS, called IELTS, uh, and I'm not sure how the university criterias were, but I can definitely talk about the masters in USA. So here, almost all the good universities will require you to take two tests. The first one is TOEFL. I'll type in the chat because I don't want to mess up the webinar. Uh, TOEFL, I hope I wrote it right. And the second is GRE. So basically, TOEFL is a test of your English proficiency, very similar to IELTS, just that the US universities require you to take this TOEFL, which is a 120 mark test. And you need to get like 90 plus to get into good universities. And then GRE. I don't know if the GRE scoring format has changed or not, but when I took it, uh, it is basically, it's called graduate record examination, and it's a test of your reading, writing abilities, and your mathematical aptitude. So the two things you need is English and maths. Uh, the English in GRE is kind of tough. It's not easy, I would say. And I think when I took it, the test was for like 340 marks, and anything above 305 will get you in an average university in US, and anything over 315 is required for a decent university, and everything over 320 will get you into a good university. But these two are just the primary criteria. After that, they're obviously going to look at your resume, what kind of uh, other things you've done apart from your college. Have Do you have work experience? Have you written papers? So if I would highly suggest, if someone is wanting to do masters, especially in the USA, and they really want to go get into a good university, make sure that you have at least 2 or 3 research papers while you're doing your bachelor's. Try to reach out to your college professors. They are already doing research in different topics. Personally, I didn't do any. So when I was applying to good universities, I did not have any research papers, and that is a very strong criteria for like tier one, tier two universities in USA. So if you can try to write a couple of research papers, it's not as tough or daunting as it looks like it. It's actually easy. I wrote like 5, 6 research papers while I was doing my master's, and it was not that tough. So if you can, if you are in your third, fourth, fifth semesters, take the time, talk to a professor. They might be already doing a research in some area. Just ask them for guidance, and they'll guide you. You can write a research paper. It will have both your and your professor's name, and that will go a long way if you really want to do a master's from a good university.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Any other questions?
Okay, thank you, Tanuvir. It looks like we have covered all the questions. Now I request Dr. Kanwalveer Singh Teensah, Professor and Head Department of CSE, to share departmental activities with the audience. Over to you, sir.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My voice is clear, Sandeep?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay, okay. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank Tanuvir for sharing the views and a healthy discussion which Tanuvir has done with the students who are the current students, and he has passed out from Banda Singh Bahadur Engineering College. So it is again a matter of great pride and proud and privilege for all of us that our alumni has reached to such a greater heights. And in Amazon USA, the title we kept for that again, the journey from BBSBEC to Amazon USA, and it will be. I think it has been great help for all the students in knowing how he has ventured out for the various things and done with his dedication and commitment, he has reached to greater heights. So this program is being, this webinar is being live streamed on CSE department YouTube channel. And this is again the fifth, sixth event in the series in this year for which the CSE department has organized, and Alumni webinar is the first in this semester. There will be more such many events in the future also. And I would also like to thank Dr. Sandeep Kotanda, Assistant Professor, CSE Department, who has coordinated again very well this webinar and is always giving right directions, coordinating and moderating the things for the CSE department. So, with this, I would also like to thank all the patient listeners from the college also and from outside also who has listened to the views and discussions as done by Tanuvir Singh. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Students, if you have any question, please type them in the chat box. Yes, Tanuvir, you can continue with your discussion.
Yeah, I mean, again, thank you, Tinsa sir. I still remember we did our bachelor's main project under you. It was a game we built. You were really helpful uh, in throughout my degree, basically. As I remember most of our conversations. So it has been a pleasure, coming here and talking, giving back to the community. It's something that basically drives people. So I've tried to, basically my intent here was to motivate people, right? I wanted people to do things that when we were in college we never thought of, right? When I probably in my sixth semester when I got into Accenture, I never thought that I need to prepare more and crack these all these big companies, right? We always thought, uh, I mean, at least I always thought that why would Google hire me? But believe me, if you apply to Google and if you want to, I will get you referred. I have multiple friends there. So I gave like 9 interviews in the past 3 months. Okay. Google was the only interview I couldn't clear. I had offers from Facebook, Apple, Amazon, uh, Uber, Lyft, Microsoft, and other companies. And Google was the only company I wanted to go to. And unfortunately, I had a bad day and I wasn't able to clear the interview. But anyways, I'll try for it next year. But I want you guys to believe that if you really want to and if you're ready for the grind, you can basically go and give interviews for Google and Facebook. If you really want to test it out, if someone's in their sixth or seventh or eighth semester, just ping me on my email. I'll get you referred from friends at Google. You'll definitely get an interview call from them. It's going to be a hard interview and it's going to take like at least 6 months to a year to prepare for it. But coming back, is my screen still shared? Sandeep ma'am, is my screen still
Yes,
shared?
Tanuvir.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just want to come back to the motivation part. Again, this is a site for US, but probably there'll be something for India as well. Uh, but this is literally the motivation. The moment I show this to people and they know how much you can make in all these big companies, uh, you can all you can't even think of the amount of money people can make in software engineering. There's so many disciplines here. uh, I have always been a pure backend software engineer. I've done projects in machine learning, but I'm not a machine learning engineer or a UI engineer or anything. But these companies hire generic engineers, right? And then they'll hire you and then they'll tell you, oh, go learn Python and work with it, learn Java, work with it, learn Node.js, work with it, right? So, and there's interesting work here too. So if you want to open up any of these, right? So these are entry level roles at all these companies, right? I'll probably add Facebook to the list here. And I'm pretty sure there'll be some site showing salaries in India. Uh, and if you go ahead and see, how much of a new grad makes in these companies, let's start with Facebook, right? It's gonna ask me. Okay. So a new grad just graduating out of college, it could be masters or a bachelor's, average on an average makes about 190K at Google in US, right? In Canada, it will be probably 150, 160K. In India, I'm assuming a new grad will at least start at about a package of 50 lakhs a year. I might be wrong, but it will be in those areas. And then the moment you start growing, a senior software engineer at Facebook makes like 390K. Those are like really big numbers. That's like you could work for 2 3 years and go back and retire in India if that's what you want. So there's a lot on the table. And I just wanted to make everyone know that clearing these interviews is not that tough. It's just that you need to have the good mindset and be ready to do the hard work. So I've added this website to the link as well as part of the motivation here. Where is the Yeah, go ahead, go through these links. If you have any questions, just drop me an email at my email address. I will probably try to reply. there are only 50 people here, right? So even if I got like 30, 40 emails, I should be able to reply. So yeah, I'll be really happy to help you guys in your journey. If you guys are there in the long haul, yeah, just remember that, there are people who are there to help you out. Yeah, that's all I have. If you have any questions, just go ahead and ask. This is probably the last 5 minutes you guys got.
Okay, thank you, Tanuvir,
Thank you.
for such a wonderful session. So I'm sure students are really enlightened with your experiences and knowledge. I look forward to continuing this type of event for exchange of ideas the way we had today. And I trust that students will take home inspiration on how to improve your technical skills. Thank you, everyone. Heartfelt thanks to our students for active participation and open dialogue.